Today we're looking at a little 3-verse story found in Matthew chapter 9 that's filled with some interesting tidbits. Let's jump right in and take a look at Matthew 9 verse 32, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version. As they were going away, behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. Okay, let's break that down in a couple of little chunks of koine. First and foremost, auton de exerchomenon. So, auton de exerchomenon, and while they were departing or while they were leaving. We've talked about this in the past. It's a genitive absolute. It's grammatically separate or independent from the rest of the verse. If we take those 3 words away, the sentence is still a sentence. Behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. So it's independent. Why am I stressing that? Because it's going to become important in the next verse. Let's carry on with the rest of the verse. Idu prosenenkon auto anthropon kophon daimonizomenon. Okay, so behold, they brought to him a mute man being demon-possessed. I want to look at those last 3 words, anthropon kophon daimonizomenon. So they agree in case, gender, and number, and that tells us that the 3 words are representing the same person, the same thing. What do we know about the man who was brought to him, to Jesus? He's a man, mute, being demon-possessed. You can't differentiate any of the parts. They're intrinsic to his being when he's brought to Jesus. A man, mute, being demon-possessed. Let's go on and take a look at verse 33, back to the ESV. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke. And the crowds marveled, saying, never was anything like this seen in Israel. Okay, first part of it in koine. Kai ek blephentos tai daimoniu, tu daimoniu. I cannot read today. I wonder what's up with that. And when the demon was cast out, here's that genitive absolute again. And I'm noticing in my notes a typo where it says a when the demon was cast out, where it should say and when the demon was cast out. But this is also a genitive absolute. It's grammatically independent from the rest of the sentence. Why does this matter? Because I want you to take note that we know almost nothing about the man. We know that he's mute and demon-possessed. We don't know his name. We don't know where he's from. We don't know if he has a family. We don't know how long he's been in this condition. And when it comes to him being relieved of this burden, we're not told how Jesus did it. It's almost a throwaway. In fact, we're only told about the result after it's been done and when the demon had been cast out. So think about another story where Jesus is dealing with a blind man, and we're told that he takes dirt from the ground, spits in it, makes a mud ball, puts it in the man's eye. There's all this process involved in describing the healing. In this case of relieving this man of his demon possession and its attendant muteness, we're told nothing at all about the process. In fact, we're only told about what happens when it's done. So, and let's get to that part, which is this magnificent little 3-word phrase, elelasen ho kophos. The man and the mute man spoke. The mute spoke. Think about the magnificence in that contradiction in terms. What's the defining feature of a mute? It's the non-speaking is what makes him mute. And here we're told, elelasen ho kophos. The mute man spoke. The mute spoke. Spectacular. He could have said, and it would have been grammatically consistent with the previous verse, ho kophos anthropos, or ho anthropos ho kophos, the mute man. But he leaves anthropos out and just gives us the contrast between the word mute, kophos, and spoke. He spoke, the mute. The mute spoke. Magnificent. Let's go on and look at the rest of the verse. Kai ethamasan hoi akloi legontes, and the crowd marveled while saying, and here's what they said, udepote ephane hutos en to Israel. So never has such a thing been revealed or been seen in Israel. Amazed, they're amazed, they're astonished by what's happened. And look at how they describe it. They don't say, never has such a thing been seen in the life of this poor demon-possessed mute man. They don't say, never has such a thing been seen here in our town, or never has such a thing been seen in our circle of friends, in our social group. They say, in the life of Israel. And this is to them, this is an event in the nation of Israel, in the life of the nation of Israel. It's not just about their town, this guy, their lifetimes, their synagogue, their social circle. This is covenant stuff. This is nation of Israel stuff to them. It's like they're saying, God is active in the nation of Israel again. How do we know? Because we just saw a demon-possessed man set free, and elelasen hokofos, the mute, spoke. This is God's stuff. God is active again in Israel. So think about their lives. They were born into a world in which the Romans are occupying Judea. Their history is a history of slavery, oppression, warfare, ups and downs of deliverances and terrible things. But way in their past, they think of themselves as the children of Abraham, who was told, leave your father's house and come to the land that I will show you. A man who was given a child of promise, Isaac, who had two sons, one of which his name was Jacob, the heel sneak, the usurper, whose name was changed to Israel, and whose children established the 12 tribes, and whose children went off into the Egyptian slavery and the Babylonian exile and all the ups and downs of the nation. The prophets have challenged the people to repent and draw close to God so the covenant blessings can be theirs. There would be healing in the land, and they look around and they say, oh my goodness, God is active in the nation of Israel again. We've never seen in our lifetimes this sort of a thing. A man, mute, being possessed of a demon, now speaks. That's what they see, and we're told they marvel, they're astonished at what they see. Great stuff. Let's go on to verse 34. But the Pharisees said, he casts out demons by the prince of demons. All right, in Koine, let's take a quick look. Into archonti ton daimonion ekbale ta daimonia. By the prince or ruler of demons, he casts out demons. So Jesus does this amazing thing for an individual. They bring this man, the crowd brings this man to Jesus, and Matthew records the deed in the sparsest of details. We know almost nothing about the man. We know literally nothing about the process by which Jesus did what he did. What we do know is the crowd in general marvels and sees that God is active in the life of Israel again. And then we see that the Pharisees attribute this objectively great, marvelous thing to the prince of demons. Yeah, the only reason he can do that is he's in league with the prince of demons. Wow. Huh? So think about the story. 3 little verses. We're told about an incredible thing that's happened, but we're given very little detail. The details we're given are about the reaction of the crowd to what has happened and the reaction of the Pharisees, a subset of the crowd, to what has happened. And there's a great lesson in that about Matthew as a writer, is that when he's telling a story, he very well may have a purpose other than the most obvious in the story. It may be more about the people around the story than the protagonists in the story. We're told very little about Jesus directly. We're told a little bit more about the man who was brought to Jesus, But what we know a lot about is the way the crowd interpreted this event and the way the subset, the Pharisees, interpreted this event. I'd like to leave you with this thought, and it may be an uncomfortable thought in this very divisive age in which we live. Here it comes. You ready? A good thing is a good thing no matter who did it. And a bad thing is a bad thing even if you like the person who did it. That can be a tough pill for us to swallow because we're all about our teams these days and which side of things we're on. But there's no right way to do the wrong thing. And even if a bad person, a quote bad person that you don't like, does a good thing, it's still a good thing, right? So don't miss the forest for the trees. If you found value here today, I hope you'll like, subscribe, and share. And until we see each other again, Charis Kai Irene Humin, grace and peace to you.